ESPN reporting that Stephanie White is the new head coach for the Indiana Fever. She just left the Connecticut Sun.
Stephanie White drops bombshell on Nelissa Smith, the shocking transformation of the Indiana Fever.
Former Fever player, also was an assistant coach for the team in the past, and if you remember, she was also just a standout at Purdue.
The Indiana Fever have officially entered a new era under the leadership of a coach who's no stranger to the organization. Stephanie White, the former Fever player.
When she played for Purdue a number of years ago, and she was also one of the names people had been talking about as a potential new head coach for the Indiana Fever.
Assistant coach and Purdue standout has taken the reins as the team's new head coach. This is a monumental change that has sent ripples through the WNBA, and one that has already sparked a bombshell decision involving one of the team's former cornerstones, Nelissa Smith. It's been a tumultuous season for the Fever, with high expectations and disappointing results. Despite the arrival of Caitlin Clark, one of the most electrifying talents the WNBA has seen in years, the Fever's playoff hopes fell short. While Clark's performances were nothing short of spectacular, other key players on the roster, including Smith.
She's been terrible for a lot of the season. I'm not going to knock Nelissa Smith as a person, but Dejanay Carrington straight away, free her. Like, she tweets out,
failed to rise to the occasion. In fact, there were serious questions about whether Nelissa Smith would even be back next season. And now, with Stephanie White in charge, it looks like the coach is sending a message that no one will be spared if they don't meet her standards. But before we dive into the drama of the season, let's take a look at how we got here. Stephanie White's appointment as head coach of the Indiana Fever is a decision years in the making.
Nelissa Smith has publicly said farewell.
Having previously served as an assistant coach for the Fever, White brings with her a deep understanding of the organization, the players, and the team's culture. Her resume speaks for itself.
She wanted women to have as many opportunities as men.
She was a standout player for Purdue and is widely regarded as one of the best to ever play for the university. When she took over the head coaching role for the Connecticut Sun, she led the team to multiple playoff appearances, establishing herself as a coach with a clear vision and an unrelenting desire to win. White's arrival in Indiana marks a return to a team she knows intimately. But now, she's not just a former player or assistant coach, she's the driving force behind the Fever's future. From the start, it was clear that White was not interested in babying players or tolerating mediocrity. Her coaching philosophy is all about discipline, focus, and a team-first mentality.
And she, if it wasn't for her and it wasn't for the way she fought for women's athletics, I'm not sure I would have had that opportunity at all.
Players who don't buy into her vision or fail to meet her high standards are quickly shown the door. No exceptions. White has one goal: to create a culture of relentless effort, teamwork, and accountability. As the Fever struggle to find consistency and chemistry, White's leadership is the wake-up call the team needs. But when it comes to Nelissa Smith, White's standards are being tested in the most dramatic way possible.
we saw nothing from the players that are free agents, like Kelsey Mitchell, Erica Wheeler and stuff. But there is one player that...
Nelissa Smith's journey with the Fever has been one filled with promise and disappointment. Not too long ago, Smith was seen as one of the brightest stars on the roster, a player with all the physical tools to be a force in the league. Smith's athleticism, rebounding ability, and occasional flashes of brilliance made her a key part of the Fever's future. However, as the 2024 season progressed, Smith's trajectory took a nosedive. Her scoring numbers plummeted, and her impact on the floor became less and less noticeable. One game, she'd be a key contributor. The next, she'd vanish entirely.
We're like, oh, will she even be on the team next year? Posting positively about Stephanie White being hired in that is...
The inconsistency was frustrating for the coaching staff and fans alike. Smith's physical gifts were undeniable, but potential doesn't mean much if you can't bring it consistently on the court. Stephanie White saw through the facade. While others may have been content to wait for Smith to rediscover her form, White wasn't interested in waiting for White. Execution matters, not just potential.
Things in her arsenal. What she is bad at, shooting, takes her 17 seconds to wind up into a jump shot.
She needed players who were ready to compete every single game, not just players who could produce when it suited them. White's no-nonsense approach left no room for players like Smith, who were failing to meet the team's needs. In a bold move, White made it clear that she would no longer tolerate underperformance. Smith, once a central figure on the team, became a question mark for the Fever's future. It wasn't just about skill, it was about effort, discipline, and commitment. And Smith's inconsistencies were simply unacceptable in White's eyes. What followed?
She is not very good at, well, it's not even her fault necessarily.
The drama surrounding Nelissa Smith took a sharp turn in July 2024, when she subtly began to scrub her social media profiles of anything related to the Indiana Fever. Unfollowing the team accounts and removing references to the Fever from her bio may have seemed like small, insignificant moves. But in the world of professional sports, these digital gestures are rarely without meaning. Fans quickly caught on, and speculation began to swirl.
It's a big risk. It's a big risk because if you've got Stephanie White as your coach, it means that you are not
Was Smith unhappy with her role on the team? Was she already preparing for an exit? As the Fever's fanbase dissected every post, tweet, and emoji, it became clear that Smith's relationship with the team was strained. What followed was a string of social media posts from Smith, many of them dripping with frustration and dissatisfaction. It was as if she was signaling to the world that she wasn't invested in the team's success, and it didn't go unnoticed by her coach or her teammates. In early August 2024, Smith posted about feeling trapped, and the post went viral.
Only thing is that teams don't have to overpay for Satu Sabally because she's because of the whole 2026 thing where it's basically a great reset.
Thousands of likes and shares spread the message far and wide. For a player who had once been seen as a cornerstone of the Fever's future, this post was a shocking declaration of dissatisfaction. And for a coach like Stephanie White, it was the final straw. White's philosophy is clear. Emotional instability and negativity have no place in her locker room.
So the Dejanay Carrington, Nelissa Smith situation has just made kind of everything messy when it comes to discourse between the Fever.
If Smith wasn't willing to buy into the team's vision, then she was a liability, but the drama didn't stop there. In late September 2024, the situation escalated with a viral TikTok video posted by Dion Carrington, Nelissa Smith's girlfriend. The video, a reenactment of an incident during the Fever's playoff series against the Connecticut Sun, was the straw that broke the camel's back. In the video, Carrington mockingly recreated an eye poke that had injured Caitlin Clark.
Okay, Lance said, good, she don't belong on the team anyway. She didn't contribute, just loving her on her.
The Fever's star player during the series. Smith, laughing along with her girlfriend, appeared to show little regard for the gravity of the situation. For fans, it was a slap in the face. Caitlin Clark was the Fever's golden child, the face of the franchise. Mocking her injury, even as a joke, was in poor taste and made it clear where Smith's priorities lay. The fallout from the video was swift and severe. Fans were outraged, and analysts were left stunned by the audacity of the post. Behind closed doors, the Fever's front office was fuming. This was not just a public relations nightmare, it was a toxic distraction that threatened to derail the entire team. The locker room atmosphere had shifted, and it was becoming clear that the personal drama between Smith and Carrington was creating a divide within the team. The Fever were already struggling to find consistency on the court, and now this off-court drama was only adding to the chaos. By October 2024, the tension between Nelissa Smith and the Indiana Fever had reached an undeniable boiling point. Smith's relationship with her partner, Carrington, was no longer a private matter or simple tabloid fodder. It had become a full-blown distraction impacting team dynamics. Teammates noticed Smith's detachment as she became a distant figure, often glued to her phone and seemingly disengaged from team activities. Her commitment to the Fever was being openly questioned, and whispers of her skipping voluntary workouts began to circulate by November. The situation reached a breaking point. The Fever, a team with immense promise, led by Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston, were finding their young core overshadowed by off-court drama. Fans and media outlets demanded clarity on the issues within the locker room. With so much potential on the line, what would happen next? Stephanie White, known for her no-nonsense approach, had little patience for this level of distraction. She had made it clear from day one that she was building a culture of unity, focus, and accountability, leaving no room for players who couldn't stay fully committed. Smith's inconsistent efforts, her behavior, and her visible detachment had turned into a toxic force that could no longer be ignored. The Fever now stood at a critical crossroads. With pressure mounting and fans demanding action, the team would have to make some tough decisions. Would Smith remain a part of the Fever's future, or would White make the difficult call to move on from one of her players? Analysts and fans were on edge, anxiously awaiting the team's next move. The Indiana Fever, a team once seen as on the rise, now found themselves in a fight to maintain stability. The cracks in their foundation were starting to show, and it was unclear if they could be repaired. But with White's disciplined leadership, the Fever's response to this crisis promised to be decisive and potentially explosive. Stay tuned to Sport Pulse for real-time updates as this saga unfolds. The stakes have never been higher, and the future of the Indiana Fever will be defined by the actions of their coach, players, and an unrelenting pursuit of greatness.